Alright, before I make the pick, can I just say that I've noticed there are 7 matchups. I almost put up 8. There are 8 matchups. No, there are 7 matchups that you look for in a football game that changes the entire way you have to look at the football game. Okay? I can't just look at Broncos, Seattle, say, Broncos. I can't just do that, alright? We have to look at matchups, certain matchups, alright? Like, for example, the running game of Seattle versus the defense, the front 7. Not the whole defense, maybe the whole defense, hopefully not, for Denver. The defense of the Denver Broncos. Then I have to look at the other side. I have to look at the Denver Broncos running game, and I have to look at Seattle's defense. Then I have to look at the secondary. I have to look at the secondary versus the receiving core. Then I have to flip it. I have to look at the other secondary versus the other receiving core. Okay? Then I have to look at the quarterbacks. I look at did they make a huge impact on the team, on the game as a whole. Then I have to look at the special teams as a whole. I don't have to look at the kickoff versus the kick return and the field goal block versus the field goal unit. That's just getting a little too into it. It's just special teams. They barely make an impact on the game unless you are the Baltimore Ravens and you beat the Lions 18-10, or was it 17-14? I don't really care. Continuing on. And this is a battle of the coaches. Coaching does not make a huge impact on the game, but it does make some impact. There are 2 solid coaches in the Super Bowl right now. All right, and I don't think that's by accident. And I don't think it's an accident that Leslie Frazier, Jim Schwartz, those guys aren't in the Super Bowl. I don't think that's an accident. So without further ado, the first big matchup of the day would be a really big matchup, probably the biggest matchup of the day, if Von Miller was still healthy. It's the running game of the Seattle Seahawks versus the front 7 of the this is the line of scrimmage. Yeah, this is running game in the front. The Denver Broncos. It's a tough one. This is a tough one actually, because Denver Broncos have been playing good as of late. They have. They've played 2 good offenses. No, they're not running game offenses, but they did play LeGarrette Blount. Okay, they did play Ryan Matthews. Those are 2, not Marshawn Lynch's. Okay, but those aren't 2 Michael LaShores. Okay, I'm a Lions fan in case you didn't know. Those aren't 2 bad running backs. Those aren't 2 great running backs. All right, but Denver's held them. They've held them at bay. They've held Stephen Ridley at bay. They've held Brian Matthews at bay. They've held LeGarrette Blount at bay. At the same time, you look at the same side of that coin, beast mode. Okay, Marshawn Lynch, number 24. What is he? What is he? Do you have one word that can describe him? He's strong. He's fast. He's quick. He's decisive. He's smart. He's everything you want in a running back. If I can make a stereotypical running back, I would make Marshawn Lynch. I wouldn't make Adrian Peterson because he's hurt every 4 weeks. I would make Marshawn Lynch. But the Denver Broncos are going to have a tough time defending against him. But if anyone was up to the task, out of the AFC Championship game at least, it would be the Denver Broncos. So, my pick?
Marshawn Lynch.
No. The other side. Knowshon Moreno, as I said in my last video, for the 14 people who watched it, actually one of them was me. So, the 13 people who watched it, in my last video I said that Knowshon Moreno became the first running back to rush for 1,000 and receive for 500 in Denver Broncos history. He's going up against a front 7 of Seattle that, it's not the front 7 of Kansas City or the front 7 of San Francisco. It's like Ryan Matthews. It's like LeGarrette Blount as 2 running backs. The Seattle Seahawks defense of front 7 is 2 defensive front 7s. They are. They're not great. They're not, oh my goodness, but they're not, oh my goodness. Okay? They're good. Knowshon Moreno, he's not great. He's been hurt. He's had problems. Okay? He's not an amazing. He's only 1,000 rushing yards. That's it, right? I anyway could do that. I just give it time. No, that's not. No. This is not. This needs to be a great front 7 to beat Knowshon Moreno. That's why I give the edge to
Knowshon Moreno.
Up next is probably the matchup of the day. I don't see why not. Not Peyton Manning versus the defensive coordinator on the other side. No. Not Russell Wilson and the defensive ends. Not Marshawn Lynch and Von Millerless Denver Broncos. Not even Percy Harvin versus the kickoff team of the Denver Broncos. No. It is Champ Bailey and the secondary of the Denver Broncos versus Doug Baldwin and the receiving corps of the Seattle Seahawks. In case you haven't noticed, that was sarcasm, and I'm just kidding. This is the least important matchup of the day. I really do think that this isn't going to make a difference at all. I think it could. All right, I think Doug Baldwin, if he goes for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, that's obviously going to make a big difference to the game. Okay, but I don't think Seattle's going to be going into this game thinking we got to get Doug Baldwin 18 catches, we got to get Joe Golden Tate 14 catches, we got to throw the ball 60 times. That's not Seattle's game. Okay, so that reason is why I say that this is going to be more focused on Marshawn Lynch and stop Peyton Manning. That's not what we're talking about. We had to. This is an element of the game. This is a matchup that we have to talk about. Champ Bailey's back from injury. You'll be up against probably Doug Baldwin. I don't know, because Percy Harvin's back from injury as well. Percy Harvin, in case you don't know, he was amazing. Slot back receiver at Florida. He was very good, very quick. And he's been hurt ever since. He's finally back. This is the first Super Bowl he's ever get a chance to play, so I guess that's enough reason for him not to be hurt. Kind of telling. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna talk about the man's character. I do know he's also a great kick returner. So I don't know if Seattle's gonna be like, you're just gonna be a kick returner today because we don't want you to get hurt as a receiver kick returner. Or if they're gonna be like, you're just gonna be a receiver today because we don't want you to get hurt as a receiver kick returner. Or they're just gonna be like, get hurt and play both. I don't know what they're gonna do. All right. But if he's in the receiving corps for the Seattle Seahawks, Champ Bailey needs to be matched up on him because there's no one else that can guard him. I saw a pick earlier last week that said it was Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, and it was the receiving corps, the Denver Broncos, and it was a captain that said, "I hope you have 3 Richard Shermans." All right. Well, get the plank out of your eye before you get the sliver out of the other guy's eye. I hope you have 3 Champ Baileys. How are you planning on stopping Doug Baldwin, Golden Tate? All right, Percy Harvin. Don't know those aren't like Hall of Fame guys, Pro Bowl guys. No, those aren't amazing receivers. But you don't have an amazing secondary, Denver. So I don't know what you're doing that. So with that, I pick
The Seahawks receivers.
If Percy Harvin is a kick returner, that could make a huge impact on the game. Much like Jacoby Jones put San Francisco out of the Super Bowl, and actually ended up doing that inevitably, even though there was a blackout, and that put San Francisco back into the game. That being said, I think Percy Harvin has that impact. But Denver's kicker broke the record for the longest field goal ever. Like, ever. It's like, ever. Like, I don't know what else to say that. Like, are you kidding me? A 64-yard field goal. There have been like 4 63-yard field goal attempts, and I think 3 of them was by Janikowski or Grabskowski or something like that. That kicker name. Or the Raiders. He kicked it 3 times, and then the record was set way back in like the 40s or 50s, not 40s. The NFL was around the 60s, the 50s or 60s, when the field goal was in the front of the end zone, not the back of the end zone. That was when the record was set. It was broken in the middle of the year. 64-yard field goal attempt. They count the 7 yards you have to go back from the line of scrimmage. Then they count the 10 yards that you have to kick. So 64 yards. I mean, that's almost kicking from the 50. If you kick from the 50, that would be a 67-yard field goal. So I'm sorry, it's not kicking from the 50. It's kicking from your opponent's 47-yard line. That's literally getting across the 50-yard line and bringing your kicking unit out. That's why I give the edge to
Matt Prater.
John Fox about 10 years ago, went on a little adventure called the Super Bowl. He played the New England Patriots. They lost by 3, a large part due to their kicker kicking the ball out of bounds. Tom Brady taking them 40 yards down the field, and Adam Vinatieri in one of his Hall of Fame and one of his Hall of Fame kicks in a Hall of Fame career, he sealed the deal and won the Super Bowl for the New England Patriots. That was John Fox's last Super Bowl appearance. I don't think he's ever, he barely was in the playoff. He got fired from the Carolina job, okay, for a reason. On the other side, you have Pete Carroll, who went to 2 national championships as a USC Trojan. They won their first one, blew out Oklahoma, lost their second one. That's if you cared. I wouldn't. But who? Not important. The Seattle Seahawks have a mentality. They have a mindset. And I think Richard Sherman kind of shows it. Russell Wilson kind of shows it as well. We're going to be rough. We're going to be tough. We're going to be prison yard status on the field. We are going to make you not want to play us again. But off the field, we're going to be nice. We're going to be calm, Richard Sherman. And we're going to be collective. And we're not going to yell at Aaron Andrews on Fox Sports saying Michael Crabtree's terrible. That's the mentality that Pete Carroll has in place in Seattle. And although sometimes his players don't listen to that and they decide to ignore it and yell at Aaron Andrews, other times, for the most part, they're cool and collective. And even Richard Sherman, he's cool and collective as well. I think Pete Carroll has set something up at that place, at that organization, that's going to stick for a while. I think that he's going to be there for a while. And, he had a bad rep going in. He did. Him, John Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, even this year. Okay, they had a bad rep going in because of Steve Spurrier and Nick Saban, and they had horrible careers as a professional football coaches. They're great college coaches. Nick Saban's got one of the best organizations in all of football, not just collegiate, not just the NFL, not just in America, all of football across the world. Big Bowl, in Alabama. So I give the edge to
Pete Carroll.
The final 2 matchups are the biggest 2 matchups of the day, because I think we're not giving enough credit to Russell Wilson's running ability, and we're not giving enough credit to Peyton Manning's coaching ability. We're talking a lot about, Peyton Manning, it's just last year, blah, 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 no one cares. We needed to be talking about how in the world does Denver plan on stopping Russell Wilson and plan on containing Russell Wilson, okay? Because San Francisco did it because they have amazing athletes on their football team, all right? St. Louis did it because they also have amazing athletes on their defense team. Arizona has a great secondary. That's why they were able to contain them. Denver has none of those things and does not play Seattle 3 times a year, 2 times a year, what have you. So, how they plan on containing Russell Wilson? He's played bad as of late. Okay, in my last video, I said he would get back to the old Russell Wilson in the game, in the conference championship games. He did not. He did not do that. Maybe even the opposite. He stayed the same. And as my old football coach said, if you stay the same, you're getting worse. And you have arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. I say arguably. I'm not saying he is by any stretch of the imagination. Don't put words in my mouth saying, Peyton Manning is the greatest quarterback. I say arguably. You can make a case. There are guys, my friend actually, great Peyton Manning fan, just because he's had Peyton Manning on his fantasy football team for 3 years. Loves Peyton Manning. Loved the Colts. Loves the Broncos now. He loves Peyton Manning. He can make a case for why Peyton Manning is the greatest quarterback of all time, and I could make a case against it, and I can make a case for it as well. He's got the brain of a quarterback. I remember when ESPN SportsCenter was constructing the ideal quarterback. Cam Newton's, I think, legs. Or something like that. Aaron Rodgers' pocket presence. Drew Brees' arm. Okay. Tom Brady's looks or something. I don't remember. Tom Brady's pocket presence. Alright. and then Peyton Manning's brain. He gets 3 or 4 plays. He gets them all called. He calls them all in the huddle, and he just audibles. He has got fake audibles. He's got real audibles. He audibles the audibles. I mean, your call is a pass play, and he turns into a counter to the left. Play action pass, roll out, pass across your body, Demaryius Thomas, who hooks and ladders it to Wes Welker, who then tosses it back to Knowshon Moreno, who then hands it to Peyton Manning and walks into the end zone. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like sometimes. Peyton Manning is just calling complicated offenses that nobody else could understand, and he's insanely smart. On top of that, he also has all the intangibles that you want of a quarterback. He's got the throwing arm that you want from a quarterback. He's got the throwing accuracy that you want from a quarterback. He's got the pocket presence. He knows when to step up. He knows when to step back. He knows when to roll to his right. He knows when to roll to his left. He is the ideal quarterback. Not in the fourth quarter. I think he gets a little too jittery in the fourth quarter. I think he gets a little too excited in the fourth quarter. But something interesting I found 7 years ago, in 2006, Russell Wilson was playing high school football. This time, he would have been looking for colleges in which to go to. He would have been deciding to go to NC State. Unless he got redshirted, in which case he'd already be at NC State, his first year. Okay, Russell Wilson could not even drink alcohol. Russell Wilson didn't even know. Russell Wilson was a baby. Still. I know, I'm younger than Russell Wilson was at that time. I am now. 7 years ago, Peyton Manning was winning his first Super Bowl as an NFL quarterback. He was getting the monkey off his back, and he was turning into one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That's why I give the edge to
the Peyton Manning.
The final matchup of this short video is almost 10 minutes long than my last one. Is obviously the secondary of the Seattle Seahawks versus the receiving core of the Denver Broncos. A large part to, like I said when I was talking about the Seahawks, they only want to run the ball. They don't want to throw it a lot. The Broncos are the opposite of that. They're the opposite coin. They want to throw the ball a lot. All right. And don't exclude Knowshon Moreno. Okay, I think these 500 receiving yards does not go to a guy who you don't just get that in one play. All right, it's not 110 receiving yards. It's 500 receiving yards. So they combine that, okay, with Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, Eric Decker, Wes Welker. Okay, Seattle might need 3 Richard Shermans. All right. Speaking of him, I don't think it was a great thing what he did. I don't think he should have just called out Michael Crabtree as loud and as obnoxious as he did. But at the same time, he did have a right to. We're all excluding that fact that he did have a right to say that he did the ball was lobbed up to Michael Crabtree. It was a jump ball. Best athlete gets it. Richard Sherman got it. I mean, he didn't get it. He tipped it, and then someone else got it. But that's beside the point. I think we're giving too much credit. We're giving too much credit to Eric Decker. We're giving too much credit to Wes Welker. Wes Welker, no one knew who Wes Welker was unless they lived in Miami, because that's where Wes Welker played before he went to New England and became amazing Wes Welker. A. B. Wes Welker played terrible the last Super Bowl he was in. I don't know if you remember. There was a chance that New England was going to tie the football game. There was a chance New England was going to win the football game. And a long either second or third down, Wes Welker was wide open for a 20-yard reception, and he just dropped it. He did. He was like, I don't feel like catching this one. And he dropped it. I think we're giving too much credit to Julius Thomas. And Knowshon Moreno as well. I think Demaryius Thomas, okay, that was the guy who basically single-handedly beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, all right? Tim Tebow got him to overtime. Demaryius Thomas beat them in overtime. Okay, Demaryius Thomas is the real deal. I didn't know who anybody else was on the receiving core of the Denver Broncos when they had Jay Cutler, Jake Plummer, okay, that might be too far back, and Tim Tebow. I didn't know anybody else. I knew Demaryius Thomas, though. Demaryius Thomas is someone you got to watch out for. I think he's going to get X'd out by Richard Sherman. That's why I give the edge to
Richard Sherman and the Seattle secondary.
The pick. As far as the pick is concerned. Yeah, you know. I picked Denver at the start of the year to play Seattle. The last 20 weeks have not shown me any different. Not shown me any reason to waver whatsoever. If you're keeping track, I gave the matchups edge. I gave the edge to Seattle and the running game, to Seattle in the receiving game, without ball in one thing, to Seattle in the secondary, and to Seattle as far as the coaches are concerned. I gave the edge to Denver in the special teams. I gave the edge to Denver in their running game, and I gave the edge to Denver because of Peyton Manning and their quarterback. Now, 4 versus 3 usually means 4 is going to win, which means I would have to change my pick. But Peyton Manning, he has an innate ability to make a bigger impact than a lot of people give him credit for. And people give him a lot of credits. People give him 100% of the credit, and he still has a bigger impact than that. So I'm going to say 4 for Peyton Manning, which is going to leave it tied. Denver has had a couple players with the Super Bowl before. Peyton Manning and Wes Welker. Those are 2 very impactful players who have been to the Super Bowl before. So as far as the pick is concerned,
The Denver Broncos.
A score, I would say 34-21. I think this game is going to get too high in scoring. I think if it's lower than 20, I give it to Seattle. If it's higher than 30, I give it to Denver. And I think it will be higher than 30. I think Denver will hit 34, 35 points, and I don't think Seattle will be able to hang with them. They don't have the offense to, in my opinion. So that was episode 2. Click the like, click the subscribe, click the dislike. Comment in the sections why you think Seattle's going to win, even though you're wrong. It's all nice to have an opinion. Comment if you agree that Denver's going to win, because you're probably right. So,